Really happy to be here with all of you. I don't know whether many of you have heard of Friendship or you've seen anything about Friendship or what we do. So just a little introduction. So we work, I started Friendship in 2002 in Bangladesh. And so I started in, so we started Friendship in Bangladesh initially. And I soon realized that the needs would not be addressed if I was getting organizations and NGOs to just sponsor projects. So I decided very early on to open also Friendship internationally so that I could become a voice internationally, not only for fundraising, but also for more cooperation and people who could come and see the projects as we do them in the field and become linked to it as being part of it, working in deep, true partnership. So that is how we are structured, international, based out of Europe in Luxembourg, and we have 5 entities in Europe. So in 2002, I had no idea that I would actually be go and make an organization which would be a kind of a social enterprise or an NGO or anything of that sort. I used to sail on the rivers with my ex-husband, and it was for the first time in my life I had gone on these, gone on rivers and seen scenes which are, and people and communities which I could not believe were part of, of Bangladesh, of people and life, because they were just so alien. It was so different. Humanity was the same. People were the same, but the living conditions, it was unbelievable. I saw children, being fed once a day. I saw children being burnt, without even have paracetamol or anything to ease their pain. And it was unbearable. I remember feeling anger. Then I remember, thinking of the injustice of it all. And I thought that I just couldn't walk away anymore. So actually, social enterprise, call it an NGO, call it whatever you will, but Friendship is basically an organization which couldn't walk away from seeing injustice in these communities. And I thought that, I had the ability of doing something. And I started. It started with we had some tools, like, for example, we had a ship. And I thought, okay, healthcare was number one. Because, as I keep saying that if you have a headache, no other intervention, you don't care about anything else. You want your paracetamol to ease that headache, and then you think about empowerment and making money or anything. So we started off with health. And we started the first mobile ship hospitals. It's now it's if you Google it, we are the premier ship hospital, NGO hospital in the world today. And the organization kind of snowballed because of the needs. Because very early on, I realized that it's not only what people tell you. More important is what they don't tell you about themselves and about their needs. And this is empathy. You need to hear, listen, have empathy, and work with compassion. That was the goal. And that was, until today, I would say that is the very essence of Friendship, of how we work and how we decide on what to do and what not to do. So I started off with the mobile hospital, but I soon realized many other things were needed. And it was, there was certainly the most important thing was saving lives. So our main work intervention is saving lives. Second is whatever work we did, because we worked in the most remote, most inaccessible, with people where there are 2,000 families and not one person could read or write, because of the geographical structure of these communities. They were on the river areas at what we call Chars or riverbanks, and I found whole communities who couldn't read and write. So how do you deal with that? We needed to deal with communities keeping in mind that climate change, the geography and the climate was a reality in their lives. So climate adaptation, saving lives, climate adaptation, poverty alleviation. That was extremely important because otherwise they don't find a platform on which they can work. So they needed access to services, and in getting access to services, they would have to start getting, it's the only way in which they could find that platform, stand on that platform and take off. You see, so you needed to provide that platform for them. So poverty alleviation and of course, empowerment. So these are the 4 key axes that we work on. And then because of this, we needed to provide health, we needed to provide education, we needed to provide climate actions because that was their reality. We needed to ensure that they could get linked with the mainstream governance, like, for example, that they knew where to go if they had a problem. So we have inclusive citizenship, then cultural preservation, which is their heritage, and sustainable economic development, which is empowering them. So Nodi, or Colors of the Chor, is part of the sustainable economic development, one of the enterprises that we have got. So the sustainable economic development is ensuring access to finance for these people when they need it, ensure that they have training so that when they have access to finance, it's not a drain on them, that they cannot repay, that they cannot work and have some activity by which they can earn income. It should not be a drain on their resources. Because of that, we had to make another microfinance organization, which is a small one, but we have that. And Nodi, which is the social enterprise of friendship. I gave you a link in the history of how I started for understanding that it was not with a preconceived idea of starting a social enterprise or of a preconceived idea of going into a community and starting work with them so that they're empowered. Many things are your responsibility to ensure before you start this. Because if I started an enterprise and they didn't have the health tool, the education tool, the training tool to ensure that these enterprises could work, then you have not completed your full responsibility. So there were many cases where, we have to take people and teach them basic reading, writing skills to our centers. And now it's a whole adult program that we've got 42 centers just teaching adults how to read and write, because then they can earn their living and they are responsible for ensuring that they know how to do their calculations, that they know if their wages are correct. They know that if they take a loan, how much they have to repay back. It's very important. You need a total holistic approach to when you're dealing with communities who are really at the bottom of the pyramid. So the social enterprise, so the friendship enterprise that we have got has got three components, and the main one is Colors of the Chor. I don't know if you can see my sari, even this is made by us. I wear it very proudly. Most of us, we love wearing our own clothes. Actually, we started in a funny way, because once there was this woman who used to come to our hospital and work for us. And when the hospital shifted, she didn't have work and she was a day laborer. I went to her and I asked her once that, what are you doing now? Are you getting any money? He says, I work, as a day laborer, and I don't think they pay us fairly. I said, why is that? Why don't you keep, She said, we take earth and we throw the earth and then, to build a road, etc. And I said, and we get paid every 10 days and I forget how much they are supposed to give us. So I said, how is that possible? One of you keep an account. So there was this group of about 25, 30 women. Not one of them could even do mathematics or write down. And I said, this is not going to work. So I started the Adult Education Center. When I started the adult education and they could write letters, they come to me one day and said, okay, now we want to work. And this is how we started our sewing and our weaving centers. Oh my God, we really have to give them work. And so our centers are very simple. So in the beginning, it was just to provide income for these women. And what women, these women are living in an island, so often, thrown away by their husbands. They are thrown aside. The husband, as a day laborer, comes to the city, gets remarries, doesn't send her money. She's got kids, hardly having any food to eat. These are real life cases, So there was this one woman, she's there with 2 or 3 kids. She comes, she lives with her mother, they live in a shack, you know, with cows inside, in their home. They only have one room. And she has to take care of her children. She comes to the weaving center and she starts training and weaving. Today, this girl, she puts her child in school. She has got some money, and she is somebody now. She's got her own house. Now she's bought some land. And this is a story which goes on and on and on. It's not one case, it's hundreds of cases that we have got. So this is, now when we started doing this, we started having these pile up of fabrics coming in. And we realized that if we didn't start doing something with these fabrics, it was impossible to continue because donors are not going to give us money anymore. And I snapped out and said, okay, let's start selling. However, this was a big decision I had to make. Do we start making these centers everywhere and start earning money and profit on this? Or profit has to be a consequence of the action for which you started. Profit just has to be the consequence for us. And I realized that to do that, it was beyond only making money. It was beyond making money just to ensure the sustainability. It was making money with so much of pride, respect, dignity, which these people must feel. They must feel that they are valuable, because if they feel they are valuable, then you start giving them something which is beyond just financial resources. You know, you give them the tool to have the capacity to adapt, to be able to say yes, no, to stand up to you, which is us, if they think we are wrong. And this is how societies can be made. This is how empowerment can happen, when you can transfer your own voice to them. And this was a very important value, or the way that we saw that development should take place. And so we have these centers now in islands, which I think I would like to show you a little video so you'd know where we come from. You know, the areas are all ours. These are the kind of areas you will see where the people are working, the difficulties of the work that they are doing, the strength that they have to have in being able to meet quality, which is extremely important, and I'll talk about that later, and how they are managing this challenge, you know, this strength that they have built, you know, for them. So I would like to show the video, Professor Salma, if it's all right. So I'd like to go back a little bit to friendship. Just to tell you that, Friendship is a holistic organization, and we are annually directly serving about 7 million people a year through our healthcare, which is our biggest sector, with about 3.5 million people there that we serve. 300, 400,000 people every month. And we have our other sectors, our schools, as you've seen some of them, and our inclusive citizenship, etc. So and we work with the Rohingyas. Many of you have heard of them. So we are the largest national organization in health working with the Rohingyas also. So that's just a little bit of a background of friendship and the scale that we are working in and operating. And we are working right from the beginning we started off working with health and health volunteers. So how did this work? So we had the hospitals with, and we had the health centers, etc. But the volunteers were the foreign doctors, and we have approximately between 150 to 250 foreign doctors coming from Mount Sinai in New York to European European hospitals, and also from Australia we have doctors coming in. So we are used to working with volunteers, and I realized that whilst working with that, and by the time that we came to working with our enterprise, with Nodi and Colors of the Chore, I realized that if we needed to sell our products, the quality of the products needs to be not only for the local market, but for the international market. And because of that, from as soon as we started good production, we started encouraging designers to work with us. We have some of the top Bangladeshi designers like Runa Khan, etc., working with us. And we have started asking international designers also to come in and help us, because they have more idea of the international color choices and the designs and the fashion which is there and not in Bangladesh. We like certain colors because of our climate, and of course in Europe it's a certain different kind of colors. And we started integrating the international designers also. We also so this is something that maybe some of you would like to later speak with me, and we could discuss this a bit. Or the other thing that we also did with our workers is, so let me tell you, so you have seen one or two of our weaving centers. So we have 7 weaving centers, and right now we are making a much larger one, which will have production of even fabrics. We will have fabrics, and we work with azo-free dyes, natural dyes. We have our own indigo plantations from which we source the indigos. It's our own plantation. So right from the source, we try to ensure that there is social sustainability, that there is environmental sustainability, which is extremely important, because in these areas, we don't use any electricity. We don't have electricity in these areas. We cannot have a system of getting rid of chemical waste. No way. This is why we have to use natural dyes, and we have to use azo-free dyes, because those all have to be put into the local fields, literally. And and also the way that we work, there is no electricity. I mean, we cannot work with electricity because it's just too expensive, and the environmental impact would be too great. We also have a lot of sewing centers. And now what we do with the sewing centers are, we train people in the sewing centers, and then we give them a loan. If they are good, we give them a loan to buy their own machine and work from the house. We do the same for the weaving center, for the weavers, but they cannot, of course, buy the weaving tools because it's just too big. It'll fill up their whole room. So they come and they work in our center. So we have about 20% of people who are just getting trained, and then they can go out and get a job anywhere they want. They can go outside, they go to areas like Tangail and get jobs for themselves. And those who stay in the village, they can continue their work with us. It is the same for the sewing centers. And then we started embroidery centers. So we have to also have, now we have embroidery centers, and there are hundreds of women now working. And I think the most, I think what is, I find the most the beauty in this is they have independence of work, because, you know, if you pay them fairly, if you give them good conditions to work in, everybody wants to earn a bit of money. And they want to come to you. They want to be with you. So we have weavers who've been with us now from the beginning, and they are now somebody in their village. They earn more than their husbands, you know, in many cases, most cases. Pride. You know, when they talk to you, you can be a minister. Ministers have gone to the Char and they have had the courage to stand up and ask them questions and speak to them. You know, this for me is deep sustainability, because even when they are not there, this woman can go and do something else. You know, and this is very important. This is essential. The 5 values that friendship works with, you know, integrity, dignity, justice, quality, hope. The 5 values that we have got needs to be imbued in every action in the way we work. You know, we had to always make choices and ensure that there is responsibility of delivery. And that responsibility is to ensure that our people can have a comfortable environment in which they work. This is extremely important, because if they don't have a comfortable environment to work, they cannot produce well and they will not be happy, and it doesn't meet the norms of sustainability. And the ability of being able to cope in an emergency is also a way in which you can evaluate the standard and the quality of the work that they do. It is when an emergency comes and how well they can cope with emergency. And this is just what happened during this COVID times. So beginning of March, we decided that this country was going to go into a lockdown at one point or the other. The government had still not decided on that. But what we did was we started preparing the fields for turning it into mask productions. And of course, keeping all the norms. In a sense, every second weaver could come in. So you kept your distances. Remember, they're living in a community, in a village, so they're always meeting each other anyway, but they needed masks. So we started cutting patterns, giving elastic, and with a boat, sending these to all the different chores where we had workers, and we knew that they could make masks and distribute those masks into their communities. Our centers were converted into making masks, where from jails, local jails, which had not got masks, police who had not got masks, and of course, communities like the rickshaw pullers and all the day laborers who of course could not afford masks. We did thousands and thousands of supplies of masks to these areas. And so the other day, this little house boy that I've got, he goes and he comes back very excited. He says, Appa, you know what? I just saw 2 rickshawalas wearing our masks, you know, the friendship masks with our designs. So that was very nice. And in Dhaka. So and they're very comfortable because they are three layers and they're handmade cotton. So I think all of you will understand, you know, it's very breathable. So, and it's 3 layers, and we ensure that there is enough air, you know, in between. So we have a pool of about 48 doctors working for Friendship. So we tried to get all that done, and some scientists also who verified that they were good daily usage. So, so today we are having shops in Dhaka. We are also trying to establish shops internationally. We have a very nice one in Luxembourg. We have 1 or 2 representatives of Friendships here also, who are from Luxembourg and France, and I can see them. And of course, Nazra, who is also here. She is leading the Friendship Entrepreneur Program, and Noddi. And so we are trying to expand, but expansion is a very delicate matter. We need to every day make decision that each decision of expansion does not touch the core values on which we built the organization, or the reason why we are doing this production. And I think keeping that core somehow finds a voice and it kind of shows in the output that you have. You know, I think maybe perhaps I'm being sensitive about it, but even things which do not, what we call life, have a way of speaking. And I think if something is done sustainably, if something is done with respect, if something is done with quality, the end product will be an outcome of that. And I think that for me is the core way that one can expand and one can work with. Thank you.